the Saturday Morning Nerd Show. I'm your host, Marcus Blake, and with me, as always, is the Brewing Sailor.
I am here.
And Mr. Chad Womack of the Electric Jellyfish Podcast.
I am here as well. Where are you?
All right, we got a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about Andor so far, now that we've seen 4 episodes and stuff. And we'll save stuff about Rings of Powers for when it's finally done. We've all had our bitch fest about it at this point, so
it's going to be a long one, folks. That episode. Whew.
Yeah. We'll get into it but that'll be in a couple of weeks. All right. Top movies for you to see in the theater. Check out The Woman King with Viola Davis. It's a great movie. The action is right up on par with Braveheart. They all do a fabulous job with it, and it's very cathartic to watch these women warriors basically take down a slave trading port and kill slave traders. Clerks 3, if you're a fan of all the Clerks movies, then you got to definitely check this out. I will be honest, it's not as good as Clerks 1, obviously, and it's not even as good as Clerks 2. But that's okay. There's a lot to like about it. It's very nostalgic and stuff, and Kevin Smith bringing back the original actors from the original Clerks movie to reprise their same roles was brilliant. So, anyway, before we get to talking about Andor and everything else, we also got to jump into a couple of things about video games. A couple of major announcements. Next year is going to be kind of off the chain for fighting games because it looks like we're getting Tekken 8 and Street Fighter 6 all in the same year.
Jeez.
So that's going to be, that will be a lot of fun.
Our buddy James is just salivating over that.
Oh, I know. Just when I was learning everything in Tekken 7. There was a quick little thing about Tekken 8. Let me bring it up real quick. Our magazine edition for September will be officially out tomorrow with our featured article talking about the 20th anniversary of Firefly, which we're going to talk about a little bit later in the show. So if my computer doesn't crash here, which...
Please don't.
Don't jinx it. Please don't jinx it.
I know. But there was a quick thing that should make people very excited about Tekken 8. I just got to get to it. What was it? The King of Iron Fist tournament will be returning in Tekken 8. So if you've been missing out on that and other versions, it's been a big one that will be coming back and stuff. So anyway, all right. And there was one other quick thing. Oh, yeah. Xbox players, Game Pass, pretty big. Game Pass has been known to drop beta versions of games that are coming out so you can start playing them and seeing their improvements. Well, one that they've had for a couple of years as a beta, Grounded, the full release came out this week, so you can download that and start messing around with it.
From one of my favorite developers, Obsidian.
Exactly. Thank you. I was actually going to mention that. Brendan beat me to it. And I actually got reminded of that because I saw somebody at the Smith household was messing around with the Outer Worlds again late one night, and I was like, I need to go back and do that.
That was me. I'm on a second playthrough. I've finished the game, finished the DLC, and now I'm doing a dumb playthrough.
Hey, you know what? I went back through 2 of the Tomb Raider games this past year because I know they're coming out with another one in the next couple of years. And
just to explain to the fans who might not understand what I'm saying by a dumb playthrough, if you set your intelligence to very low, you get specific dumb dialogue options where you can play. Yeah, you can play as an idiot. And it's some of it's really funny too. So I'm playing a dumb brute who goes around with 2-handed weapons and just mauling. And I just started the playthrough, and his first weapon is it's a ball on a stick. It's a mace, but the ball is basically the moon. It's the Spacer's Choice logo.
Nice.
So I'm just beating you over the head with the brand of Spacer's Choice.
Nice. Okay.
It's not the best choice. It's Spacer's Choice.
Yes. Well, it kind of reminded me that Obsidian had this other game that I played through the beta and it's fun, but you can't get a full assessment until you get the full game. And so Grounded has been released, and we'll be jumping into that and getting a full review of it here the next few weeks. All right. The other major game release. Sorry, we're kind of zipping through stuff because we do have a lot to talk about, and we only have an hour. So, FIFA 23 is being released tonight. If you got a digital copy like I did, then it will have been released on Thursday. Sorry, we're pre-recording. By the time you see this, it will have already been out. Anyway, FIFA 23. Should you buy it? Should you not? Yes, you should definitely buy it. First of all, it's FIFA. It's probably the one sports game where you do truly get your $60 value because you get to play teams from like 50 different leagues around the world. They put that much into a game versus Madden where
They copy and paste stadiums for the same 31 teams every year, 32 teams every year.
Well, you're playing 16 games or 17 games in a season, and you'll do 5 run-throughs on a season before you actually finish up a season with any major football team throughout the world. Anyway, this year is probably the truest version of FIFA built for the next-gen consoles, Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5. Now, last year was the first time you could play these games built for the new consoles. And EA released what they call their hypermotion technology, which last year's version had about like 4,000 extra pixels and animations and everything to make the game more realistic. And it was a lot of fun. Unfortunately, it was very buggy when it came out, and it took months of patches to kind of fix it. And by the time they did, it was already a free game on PlayStation Plus. So, anyway, but the final version was really good and stuff. So they increased it, and it's Hypermotion 2.0. It's like 6,000 animations and graphics and stuff to make it more realistic. And
That's already better than Madden because Madden's got what, like 12?
Yeah.
That they keep replaying over and over the same tackle animation.
Well, here's what's interesting. I got the Xbox One version. I didn't even get the Series X version. And the main reason is so I can use that version on older consoles that we used for tournaments. And I don't have to keep buying the game and stuff. The Xbox One version, with all their new animations and beefed up graphics and gameplay, looks better than the PlayStation 5 and Series X version of last year's FIFA. So the gameplay, it's a little buggy. Being able to cut back and stuff, you kind of have to adjust your sliders a little bit to give you a little bit more acceleration and whatnot. But there's always adjustments that you kind of have to do if you're a serious FIFA player, when you're playing career mode. Here's probably the best part. You can actually play AFC Richmond from the show Ted Lasso and have Ted Lasso and Coach Beard strolling the sidelines in the game. That's right. You can put them in any tournament and take AFC Richmond to the top. It's glorious. And I love the fact that they got, really great animations of all of the actors from the show. It looks phenomenal. To the point that you can actually hear the crowd chant the Roy Kent song from the show.
Damn.
So, if you're a fan of, like my little sister who does not play video games, she's like, I might actually want to play FIFA if they have AFC Richmond. It's like, exactly. So, here's the other best part. And this leads into a review of a show. I'm combining it all in one thing. Welcome to Wrexham. If you are even a little bit of a soccer fan or football fan, you need to be watching the show. If you don't know what it's about, Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney from It's Always Sunny on Philadelphia, creator of that show, decided to buy a fifth-tier English team, in Wales. They took over the team, poured investments into it, got a new pitch at the stadium, and if you know anything about Wrexham, they actually play at the oldest international stadium still in existence in Europe. It's the place that they play at has been around since like the 1830s. It used to be a racetrack and whatnot. So they took over this team, and they're trying to get it promoted to the fourth tier, which is League Two in English football. And you got to understand, where Premier League players, the average salary is what, $500,000? In the fifth tier, the average salary is like $40,000 a year. Okay, it's been a great documentary series with both of these guys trying to do right by this community, the team, and all that. If you're watching the first season, sorry, a little bit of a spoiler. Wrexham did not get promoted last year. They came in second. They almost did. So they're currently in second place right now with the start of this season. They got one of the best English managers who has improved every team he's ever taken over throughout English football. So it's been a very interesting story. They're about 10 episodes in, or 11 episodes in right now. I think they've got about 8 more, and they have been renewed for a season 2. First of all, even if you're not a fan, just to have Ryan Reynolds in a docuseries being Ryan Reynolds, and we're going to get to him in a moment. We're not forgetting something else that we have to talk about. You can play Wrexham in FIFA. You could play Wrexham in last year's FIFA. Okay? You don't normally get to play fifth-tier English football teams. Okay? This is the first year that you can actually play all the teams in what they call the National League in English football, in more of a customized tournament for that season. So the reason I'm mentioning this, if you're a fan of the show and you're a fan of FIFA, you're probably thinking to yourself, how do I take Wrexham to the top in FIFA? And there is a roadmap to doing it, believe it or not. So I'm going to quickly explain. If you want to get them promoted out of National League, you basically have to do a customized tournament of all of these teams and play out the season of like 40 games. And then in the National League, where unlike English football, it's the top 3 teams that get promoted and then the bottom 3 teams of the league above it that get relegated. You have to win out the entire National League. You have to be number 1 to get promoted to League 2. So you have to do that, hopefully beat everybody, just to get promoted to League 2. That's 1 year. Then, once you get to League 2, you can start playing out that season. That's also when you qualify for things like the English Cup or the Caribou Cup, which, if you win that entire tournament, that gets you a place in Europa League. And everybody's like, what are we talking about? I got to go through many things. If you were to win out Europa League, that would get you a place in Champions League and one of the lower teams in one of the groups. So this is already like a 3-year period just to even get to play in Champions League without actually being promoted all the way through the leagues. But you're basically on a 4 or 5 year journey to try to take Wrexham through all of these leagues to get them to Premier League. And there's a different roadmap of how you could get them to be in Champions League, how they would qualify for the FA Cup. Needless to say, if you're doing this all in 1 year in one video game, you're going to basically be playing...
nonstop.
Yeah, but you're going to be playing probably about 400 games just to do it. And that's and using a team that's lowly rated because they're a 5th-tier team. So
in 6 months, there's going to be a dude on YouTube who's going to be like, here's my speed run.
Yeah, probably. That's not going to be me. Now, I admit, as a fan and cheering for Wrexham, the underdog, because it's like a modern-day Ted Lasso story, I'm beginning my run. I actually started it in FIFA 22, and I got them through like League 2, and I actually won the Caribou Cup by beating Man City. And the reason I beat Man City is I beat them 2-1, but the last 30 minutes of the game, I had to play keep away just to make sure Man City didn't score on me.
If you do this, you're going to have to come about it like Aragorn. You know, I will take Wrexham to the top of the league, but it will not be this day.
No, yeah. But like I said, there's a whole roadmap of how you can do it. And I've had more fun playing FIFA doing this than I do, playing my career mode with Liverpool every year. That's a whole nother thing. And somebody already brought up, like, well, what about AFC Richmond? What if they got relegated again? It's like, you could do the whole same thing with a fictional team and have Ted Lasso with his mannerisms and sayings and blah, 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 while you're trying to get promoted back to Premier League. And it's great. So, if nothing else from that standpoint, FIFA 23 is absolutely worth buying this year. And it's not perfect, but I'm definitely giving it an 8. And it's the one game from EA this year that's probably worth $60. So, all right. Speaking of Ryan Reynolds, can we just admit that he has the greatest marketing ever?
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Brendan, take this away and tell our audience what was announced.
Well, Deadpool 3, boys and girls, with a huge surprise.
See what you did there.
So yes, Ryan Reynolds did this usual montage like he normally does, where he's pretending to be very, very serious and thoughtful, and he's like, "Yeah, we really wanted to come up with something great," and he says, "I got to be honest,
Got nothing.
I got nothing up here. It's blank. We did have one idea though." And you see somebody walk by in the background, and he goes, "Hey Hugh, do you want to be in Deadpool 3 and play Wolverine one more time?" "Yeah, sure, Ryan."
Apple bite.
and then Brian just, and you hear
And,
"We'll always love Hugh. It's coming hewn."
You know what's funny
I
though?
dropped everything. I was like, shit.
I like the second one they did together, where they're explaining, well, how can we bring Wolverine back after Logan? And they start explaining the plot, and all you hear is, wham.
And apparently they've had lip readers going over that thing with a fine tooth comb, and they've broken it down.
Oh, wow. See, I'm not even that serious about it. I just thought it was hilarious how they used the music. And every time I hear the Jitterbug song, I'm always going back to Zoolander and them waving around the gasoline. And
It's the album where they earn the exclamation point.
yes. But no, the brilliance of the marketing and their announcements. I'm sorry, Ryan Reynolds is just the coolest. And
Like I said on Twitter, it's his world. We're just living in it.
Exactly. And this is another reason that you should watch, Welcome to Wrexham. Because him and Rob are absolutely hilarious together. You would think that they were brothers.
All right, and this is my appeal to Kevin Feige. Stay the hell out of the way.
Let it happen.
Just let it happen.
Yeah.
Because we're already hearing some really disturbing shit coming out of the Blade camp. Like, for example, the director just quit.
Yeah.
And the rumors are that Mahershala Ali is pissed because the script is 90 pages long and has 2 fight scenes.
Damn. That ain't
And they're going for a PG-13 rating instead of a rated R rating. Did y'all watch Blade? Do you understand why people like Blade? Well, we could get more butts in the seats with PG-13. Yeah, but if it sucks, nobody will come back week 2.
It's okay to have a rated R superhero movie.
Yeah, Deadpool showed you that twice.
Exactly.
Highest grossing rated R movie of all time, twice.
Yeah. By the way, when Deadpool 3 comes out, and Brendan, of course, will be going to the press screening with me, I'm just looking forward to his traditional laughing so hard, falling out of his seat, which he's done twice.
Hell, the first time I did it during the credits sequence.
I know.
A British villain. Written by the real heroes here.
Yeah, but I absolutely agree. Just stay the fuck out of it and let them do their thing. Okay, whether it's as good as the other two, it doesn't matter. It's going to be good because it's Ryan Reynolds doing his thing. So, still the best scene is the time warp thing where he goes back in times and shoots Ryan Reynolds in the back of the head, reading the Green Lantern.
Ooh, Green Lantern.
Oh well.
But doesn't he say something like "You're welcome, Canada"?
Yeah. I know the Hitler thing was pretty on point.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to start with Brendan because I feel like you've had the toughest time as a nerd over the past few weeks of somebody trying to ruin your childhood. So let me ask you, after 4 episodes of Andor, are you hooked? Are you excited? Are you liking it? Or are you about to get into an Irish rant?
Neither. I'm somewhere in the middle. Yeah, because it's a slow burn. Like, okay, one thing that did annoy me isn't so much the 4th episode itself, but the build up for it in the media. All the media who did get to see the first 4 episodes or the 4th episodes where everything changes and get really great. We went to Coruscant. I mean, it was cool. We saw Mol Mothma. Her husband's kind of a prat.
Yeah.
You know,
We
you know,
saw.
I did like how Gilroy wrote Stellan Skarsgård's cover, where he's an antiquities dealer. That's a very smart cover in the Empire because it would give him reason to travel to lots of different planets and be in obscure areas because he's looking for antiquities. That makes sense. That's a great cover would be a great cover for a smuggler. It's a great cover for a rebel.
Yeah.
Did anybody catch the Easter egg in the background?
Oh, the Star Killer Easter egg?
No.
Yeah. Oh, there was that one.
The bull whip encased in carbonite.
Oh, I didn't see that one, no. But I saw one of Star Killer's helmets, and everybody's like, "Oh, Star Killer's cannon." No, just the helmet.
Just the helmet.
It's like his head wasn't in it. They didn't pick it up and have Sam Witwer's head fall out. I mean,
and he's still screaming, "Kenobi!"
Look, this is what I will agree with you on this. This is what pisses me off about people who get to see stuff early and all that. We do too. Okay, I mean, clearly we haven't seen the first 4 episodes until now, but you saw the first 4 episodes. You don't know anything the 4th episode didn't change anything. It's cool.
It is the setup for this 3-episode arc. That's all it is.
Right.
And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just, it wasn't the episode that changes everything.
Oh.
It was world building, which I'm cool with world building. Like, we've never seen that much Coruscant before. The ISB was as drab as the ISB you would think it is. I also love the Major who's on the ISB council because that's the same guy from the show Endeavor, which is the prequel to Morse on PBS and BBC. So he's a great actor. You know, it's just like there's right now it's just all world building, and I'm fine with that because in the world of Star Wars or the galaxy of Star Wars, all we've really ever been exposed to are the Jedi, the high adventure. You've never really seen. Yeah, we've seen it inside the Senate chamber a few times, but we've never seen the backroom politics. We've never seen the back channel stuff, the wheeling and dealing.
Because
We've
honestly,
certainly never seen the rebellion.
We haven't given a shit. To be quite honest with you.
Look,
Yeah.
you are writing an espionage show. That's what
Right.
this is.
Yeah, this is a John LeClaire novel set inside, Star Wars, which I'm fine with. It's just
the Americans. I can definitely see the same style, the slow burn into what's going on. I love.
One of the writers from the Americans is working on this too.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying, and I can clearly see what's going on. I love how they explain Andor's story. Okay, why what's his face shows up because that's who he's really looking for. Their escape was great. Okay.
Yeah, certainly better than anything that was in Kenobi. It was a much better action scene, much better set piece.
In your opinion, I will disagree with you on that. But at the same time, building this up so you get to see where this character comes from, how he got into the rebellion, because we know what's going to happen, over this 5-year arc that we're basically going to see, 4 or 5-year arc. That's great. But you don't have to talk about everything per episode like, oh my God, it's the greatest thing. It's like, some of these are just building up to something else.
And if I have one major complaint about the series so far, it would have to be episode 2 is pointless.
No,
episode 2 is 100. Like, how can you have 3-episode arc and one entire episode is filler?
Yeah,
I mean,
you could have that episode should have been 10 minutes of the first 10 minutes of the second episode. That's it.
Yeah, like you could have taken the beginning 5 minutes from episode 2 and tacked it onto the end of episode 1, and the ending 5 minutes and tacked it onto episode 3, and just cut the rest of it out. Yeah. But other than that, I really hope episode 5 is not like episode 2. I really hope 5 advances the plot more, because it felt like in episode 2 we were just treading water.
I get that it's kind of necessary because you're still trying to establish him and who he's connected with, and the flashback scenes of him and his sister before he gets taken. Again, brilliant. It is exactly what you need for world building. My only complaint is I don't want an episode like this every week. I think you should drop all 3 episodes every week so that we can watch it all in one sitting and be done with it.
Ideally, I agree with you, but we all know that's not going to happen because Disney need to keep those subscriptions going.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to start dropping their Disney subscriptions because of that. But
true, but that's the mindset. That's the corporate mindset. We've got to string it out so we make sure we get the most possible subscription money out of people who are just subbing for this show. Yeah. But I did think it was funny. One thing that I thought was hilarious was before it dropped, like the day it dropped, some YouTuber who is very pro Disney dropped this. This is a migrant story, and if you're a podcast and you don't have somebody who's Latino on your podcast, you shouldn't even be reviewing Andor. And I'm like, well, first of all, Latinos aren't the only migrants in history. Hell, they're not the only migrants right now. Just ask Christians, African Christians trying to escape Boko Haram. How about Syrians just trying to get out of a war, or Ukrainians trying to get out of a war? So they're not even the only migrants right now. But not only that, this isn't a migrant story because he's not a migrant. He's a Stockholm Syndrome survivor.
Yeah.
He got kidnapped off his planet by a white savior who thought she knew better.
Yeah.
The freaking irony of this.
Yeah. That is a twist.
He got Angelina Jolie out of Africa.
Yeah. My main issue with all of these people is like, take your woke bullshit and shove it. Okay. Understand the original source material. Doesn't make them racist. I don't need to have Latinos to fill up my quota. as if I don't understand or whatever. Okay, and you're right. This has nothing to do with a migrant story at all. It's a good story for what they're explaining, because it
Right.
goes into his character, his attachments, okay, why he is searching for his sister. But again, it is all slowly building to something else. I cannot wait till this first season is done and I do it all in one weekend. You know, I still maintain. For everybody that didn't like Kenobi, that's fine. Your opinion. I'm sorry you didn't like it, but I still maintain that that's a better show when you're watching it all in one sitting. Even though it could have been boiled down to just 4 hours, fine. I feel like it'll be the same thing when you binge watch Andor, or you take the 3-episode arcs. That's the only complaint I have with it. Everything is great. I love the cast. You are doing this right, of telling his story. It's too bad that we may not get to see some of these characters come back. I mean, him going back and his quasi-girlfriend or friend that he does business with, who got sold out by her fucking boyfriend. I mean, I'd like to see her back again, but
Oh, I think she will be. I think, from what I gather, she will be.
yeah. Now, Chad, I mean, because we've been talking about it all week. How about you? Your opinion of this? Have you been blown away, or still kind of in the middle?
It's given me a look at Star Wars that I didn't know I needed to see, and that I feel like I've needed and just didn't realize how badly I needed it. It is the epitome of a slow burn, but it's a good kind of slow burn. It's not a character that we're so deeply invested in because we've only seen this guy in one other thing. And we're seeing,
and he wasn't even the main character at that.
Right, exactly. And I mean, other than, did they or did they not confirm that this is getting a second season?
Mhm.
Yeah, it is.
They did confirm it's getting a second season.
It's going to be 2 seasons only. So here's how it's going to work, Chad. All of season 1 is 5 ABY. Okay, and it will be 4 3-episode arcs, but it all happens in 5 BBY. Before Battle of Yavin. The first 3-episode arc of season 2 is 4 BBY. The second is 3 BBY. The third is 2 BBY, and the last one is 1 BBY leading into Rogue One.
All that I think that all that really matters to a lot of people is they're just counting down the episodes until K2SO shows up.
Well, okay.
Let's be honest. we're all looking for him to show up.
Which, by the way, there's an interesting theory that a YouTuber who I do like, shout out to a Black Jedi, he put out a theory that B will be the consciousness that he transfers into K2SO, or not the consciousness, but the programming that he transfers into K2SO to reprogram K2SO. So it'll actually be B's brain inside K's body. And that's how K2SO is a little bit different from the other Imperial security droids.
Nice. Okay. I would go with it. That would be good.
It's a sound theory.
Yeah.
One of the things that I like, in getting away from the Jedi and stuff, like, look, there's so much story to tell about in between episode 3 and episode 4, and it really doesn't start truly kicking off until about halfway. I think that was kind of cool about Kenobi, is you're really starting to see the beginnings of what the rebellion is, the people that are going against it, and how his involvement is and his connection to where his role will be 10 years, or 9 years down the road. Rebels did a mixture of, we're basically Firefly, but with a little Jedi lore. The Jedi lore didn't take center stage. It took more of a center stage once you get to season 2 and 3, because Ahsoka shows up and all that. But even then, it wasn't so much about the Jedi as it was reconnecting to the remnants of the past, and again, the building blocks of the rebellion. There's so much that I feel like happens that we don't know about, okay, with all of these various groups and how they will come together to form the rebellion, okay? I think that's what makes why Andor is more important. Because just like World War II, um, yes, the battles on the front lines, Band of Brothers, the Pacific, everything that we know, that's great. But it was also the intelligence in it. It was the spies behind the lines and all of that led to it. The movie Operation Petticoat, that was the one on Netflix, right?
I forget. I know what you're talking about. The one that just came out on Netflix.
Right. Yeah, but yeah, the one that how they faked the death in the papers and
Operation Mincemeat.
Mincemeat. Thank you. I don't know where I'm going with Petticoat. No, I'm thinking of a Cary Grant movie. Sorry. That was a brilliant movie to show what they were doing behind the lines and how that was just as important.
Or The Imitation Game.
Or The Imitation Game, another great one. Andor is another piece of that's going to lead to the overall and all that. And once you see the grand scale of things, you kind of look at it. Luke's story is kind of small.
Yeah.
To everything else, and it needs to be, because his story is so much more personal and focused on, yes, I'm part of the rebellion, but my connection is more to the Jedi and redeeming my father and taking down the Emperor, while everybody else, it's just one piece of the puzzle. So let's tell more stories. Let's have more connections that lead up to what it's going to be.
Yeah, I want to see more about the many Bothans died to bring us this information.
Right.
Okay, tell the Bothans and let's hear their story. And right. I think that's what this feels like. It's
also what makes Rogue One the better movie out of all the Disney movies is its connection to what these people did. And now you're going to get that build-up that makes it much more important with characters that we are familiar with. Mm-hmm. Okay. I think I'd care more about the Disney trilogy if I started seeing more of the build-up of the things that happen over 30 years, which, we kind of get with The Mandalorian and the Ahsoka series and all that. But, the rise to the First Order, the things, that really happened, and, what Leia was doing again just to form what would essentially be the new rebellion. Because without that, I don't really care. You kind of botch that story, but you have to have those building blocks that lead to that point. And that's what I'm saying. So give me the slow burn. That's fine. Because unlike the Rings of Power,
whatever you do, just make it well written.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care if it's action packed or if it's a slow burn, just as long as it's well written. Like, in the current analogy I'll use for that is House of the Dragon. House of the Dragon's a fairly slow burn too, but we've also advanced the plot about 20 years since the start of the show.
Yeah.
Because Viserys, like you see Jaehaerys's death, and then Viserys and the next thing you know, it's 9 years into Viserys's rule, and here we are 10 years. Then it was 2 or 3 years later because Alicent had a couple of kids, and now we're not 10 years past that. So we've advanced the story 20 something years in 6 episodes, but it doesn't feel rushed.
Right.
Yeah.
That's impressive. That's good writing.
Unlike the last season of Game of Thrones.
Unlike the last season of Game of Thrones. And then in this, but in Rings of Power, we've advanced a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months, and it feels like we've done a day or two.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. That whole run so far has felt like the Merry Pippin Treebeard portion of Two Towers.
I mean, well, yeah. I mean, look at the beginning. At the end of episode 3, you can see that Numenor is going to go to war. The hobbits are going on. I call them the Nobbits. Because they're not hobbits. So, I mean, they are hobbits. Don't get me wrong. Just J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay can't say that. So he says, no, Harfoots aren't hobbits. Yes, actually they are, but that's fine. So we're going to call them the Nobbits. The Nobbits are migrating, and then the people in the south are stuck at the or might have left to the Elven Tower. Go to episode 5. The Numenorians are just leaving at the end of episode 5. The Nobbits are still migrating, and the people are still stuck at the tower.
Yeah, I'm definitely waiting for tribute to show. Yes, we just got done saying hello.
Yeah. But at least in that setting, it made sense because they explain everything takes a long time to say in Old Entish.
Mhm.
Right.
These guys just don't know how to write.
Obviously, these are Entish authors writing this fucking script.
Right. Well, so far they're doing what they are supposed to do with Andor. Okay, and it's better than some of the stuff that we've seen. That's all I'm gonna say.
So far, so good.
Yeah. But we're not going to sit there and review every episode like it's the greatest, whatever. We need to see it in its entirety. Okay?
You know, if there's a moment, we'll talk about it.
Yeah,
sure, absolutely. You know, but there's episodes of The Mandalorian that are kind of filler too, but there's still some exciting stuff that happens, and we talk about that. Which, by the way, since the last time we were on, we do have a trailer for season 3. It looks like it's going to be awesome, but kind of already knew it would be. And yes, it looks like it's been confirmed. Well, maybe not so much, but I kind of trust Mark Hamill on Twitter. But I guess Luke will show up in the Ahsoka series, which I kind of figured he would be anyway. So can't wait for that. That'll be awesome. All right, before we get to the last thing that we're going to talk about, I do want to do this. We're 2 episodes in. Have you guys watched the 2 episodes of the reboot of Quantum Leap? Okay.
I can't. I just can't.
I can't bring myself to give a shit.
Yeah.
Okay. I will say this. I like its connection. I like the fact that, which we already knew, that Ernie Hudson was playing Magic, which if you know that episode from season 3 of the original Quantum Leap, it's the soldier that Sam jumped into to help save his brother in Vietnam. And then they snap the journalist snaps the photo of the POWs, and one of them is Al. That's great. And I love Ernie Hudson. I like the fact that the girl who gets the new Sam into the Quantum Leap is the daughter of Al. So you've got some connections there. Here's my biggest complaint. I love Scott Bakula because he was nerdy and quirky, and I think I even said this in a chat. For all the things that we complain about with too much exposition, like we have to over-explain it as if people are too stupid to figure it out.
There's a hole in the ground. Somebody dug that hole. I should go in and find out.
Right. You literally explained everything about Quantum Leap within the first fucking 5 minutes. Like, there's no mystery to it. There's no mystery to why there's memory loss, blah, 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 blah. Or that somebody else is working with him and he wasn't the one that was supposed to go in. It was supposed to be the girl and he was going to be the hologram, blah, blah, blah. I rewatched the pilot for the original Quantum Leap. It is 30 fucking minutes into the episode before you even get to anything dealing with memory loss, who the fuck Al is, and why he's the only one who can see that. They don't explain it. It isn't until a conversation 30 minutes into that episode at the jukebox, because he's the only one who can see him, and then Al explains, I can't tell you everything. And then little by little, he kind of does. Okay? The mystery unfolds throughout an hour and a half, and it's great.
It's organic that way.
Yeah, and there's still little things from other episodes that are kind of organic, and again, I rewatched the episode where it introduces magic and why they can't find anything out because the Defense Department had things classified and they weren't put on computer yet, and Ziggy couldn't get to it, and he has to figure out more organically, and even Al can't do anything, and Al couldn't say that he was the POW, and it's like there's still more mystery to it that unfolds throughout each episode. That's my point. I'm already you've explained everything to me. I don't need to know what the fuck is going on in this episode. Also, nothing against the actor who's playing Dr. Ben Song. You're a good actor, I'm sure. You're stale. There's nothing exciting about you. Scott Bakula was so kind of nerdy and quirky, and just that, oh boy, trying to figure out stuff in each episode. you kind of fell in love with that. You know, he's that nerdy kid that you knew in school or whatever that kind of is, you know, the hero you never expected. I feel no connection to this guy. I think the only reason I kind of watch it is I'm in it for the mystery of how it connects to the original Quantum Leap. And I feel like they'll explain that in the first season, and then we'll be done.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. And again...
And can we? So I guess I can gather. I now know why Scott Bakula didn't want to be a part of the reboot.
Well, I think they're trying to, the way they end season 2 with the secret code and the matrix of pinpointing things in time. I think I'm assuming they're alluding to why he jumped in. Is the deal he makes with Al's daughter is they are pinpointing where Sam is. They have kind of figured it out. So you're leading into the story of we're going to go get him. That's why I'm in Quantum Leap. We're going to find him and also unravel more mysteries. But again, by the time, if you do that and you're done at the end of the first season, there's no fucking reason to keep watching it. That's the only reason to reboot Quantum Leap, is just to go get Sam.
Right.
And by the way, you probably could have done that with a 2 or 3 hour movie. So, anyway, there you go. For those of you that are interested and really want to watch it, I've pretty much summed it up. And but I do find it funny that Peacock, when recommending Quantum Leap to me, it does know me. The AI knows me in Peacock. It recommended the original. I'm like, I will watch that again.
Thank you. Thank you, I will.
All right. The last thing that we're going to talk about, for you nerds out there, it is a momentous year. And it was actually last week it happened, but we finally got around to recording this podcast. It is the 20th anniversary of one of the greatest science fiction shows ever, Firefly. 20 years ago, on September 20th, it premiered on the Fox network. Now, not the original pilot, but the first episode, which is technically the second episode of the series. It is often referred to as the greatest show that never lasted. They showed 11 episodes before they canceled it. So 3 of them, thank God they did film them and have them in the can, and they ended up on the DVD box set. But yeah, Firefly, it's hard to imagine that 20 years ago this show happened. Now, for most people, you probably didn't discover it until a few years later when they finally were able to make the movie.
So I actually got to see it a couple episodes.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. But it was funny because I think out of the 11, I saw like 4 or 5, because this was, of course, before streaming. Like, I couldn't go online and watch it again. And I was in the Navy in Hawaii at the time. And it, like, it would be like I'd see an episode and then I'd miss 2 or 3 because of scheduling. I'd have like a mid-watch right when I was supposed to be on. And then I'd see another episode and then miss another and then see another and then miss another. And it would go on like that. And then all of a sudden, like 3 weeks later, it's gone and I can't find anything about it. I'm like, that was kind of cool. What? Shit, God damn it, Fox.
Yeah. I was in the Army at the time and do not remember, I never saw one episode, and I remembered them talking about it because it was geared to be the replacement for the X-Files. Like, literally, that was their original intent, was to do the same time slot as the X-Files on Sunday. In fact...
Irony of that.
Yeah. And then originally they were like, well, we're going to have this run back-to-back with 24, but no, we want this other good show to be on another night to get more viewers. And, of course, 24, after that first season, turned out to be a hit. So, yeah, none of what they originally planned actually happened with Firefly. So we're going to talk about some of the things that happened and how it really got royally screwed up. Some wacky fun facts, besides them showing everything out of order. Now, we take it for granted now, because if you go back and binge watch everything, and it's actually on Hulu, I went back and watched everything again. There's an order to it. There's a reason there's an order to it. Because it's the next adventure after the previous adventure, and it connects. Okay? To their credit, they did actually, the 2 episodes with Christina Hendricks, they did run those in order, so...
Old USAF Bridge.
Yeah. Other than that, nothing. Like the 14th episode, Objects in Space, no. That was literally... What's hilarious is that ran like the 4th episode. That episode happens after Kaylee discovers how River is kind of a weapon and she can pinpoint her shot. And we don't even get to that episode beforehand.
Dude, it's like they threw the episodes in like a tumbler for bingo,
Yeah.
and then just the order they came out in is the order they showed them.
Yeah. So I mean, I can't imagine trying to watch this every week and like, what the fuck is going on? But if you watch it now, again, it makes sense.
Honestly, I would love to sit down with the people, the TV executives at Fox who were working there at the time, and I want to say, explain your logic to me here.
Please.
Okay.
Make this make sense to
And
me.
if it doesn't start with "we were on a lot of cocaine," I don't believe you.
Oh, it gets better in the mishandling. Now, the original pilot, it's what they, it was their backdoor pilot. It's what got commissioned that got them the series. But then they wanted another pilot. Okay, it happens all the time. Probably the most famous example is the original Star Trek series. We've all seen it, where the original pilot is Captain Pike and Spock is the only one that carries over. And then when CBS, didn't want it or whatever, Lucy, everybody knows that story. Lucille Ball is the one that gets all the credit for actually getting Star Trek on TV. They reshot the pilot, sold it to NBC. That happens. The reason, and it wasn't really that big of a deal with Star Trek, because all you did was take away the original captain in that episode and then replace it with Kirk and continue with Spock, and it's like, oh, okay. And then we don't really know anything about Pike until the Glass Menagerie episodes. The reason this sucks for Firefly is the whole fucking original pilot is what sets up these characters and why.
It's how they all meet each other. It's the world building. Like we were just talking about with Andor, like we're building this new world on Coruscant that we haven't seen before, and the levels of the galaxy we haven't seen before. That was literally the entire world, showing Persephone, showing the big planet that had technology, showing the outer planets that don't have technology, introducing all the characters together, why they're strangers. And then all of a sudden, they all know each other in episodes like 1, 2, and 3. And then you get to episode 4 and they show the pilot and you're like, why do they not know each other? Why are they all coming? Like,
No. That backdoor pilot wasn't even shown until the 9th episode.
Or 9th, well, yeah, whatever. And yeah, so it was just like, I'm like, whatever. Like I said, if it doesn't start with "we were on a lot of cocaine," I don't believe you.
Well, we're supposed to take it with a grain of salt of why River and Simon are actually on the boat to begin with. It makes no fucking sense.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, granted, you have the Out of Gas episode where it's all the flashbacks, about how Mal met everybody, and that's great. But that doesn't even make sense compared to that original pilot.
Yeah. Like it all has to be shown in order for a reason. Yeah. It's written in order. It's one continuous story. Like that's like put it this way. That's like putting Lord of the Rings on a television show, like actual Lord of the Rings, not this shit. But in a television show and like starting with Helm's Deep and then going back to the Shire and then going to the Battle of Pelennor Fields and then going to Lothlorien.
Yeah.
Like, why?
So that's the first big mistake they made. Of course, they always complain that, well, we didn't have the ratings. Well, you also put it on a Friday night, so,
You're not going
to. A lot of it. Here, I shit you not, was the marketing for the show. They didn't even categorize it as a science fiction show. They categorized it as an offbeat comedy.
Jesus.
And I read that and I'm like, what's your promo? How did you even market that? Check out Fox's new offbeat comedy about all these wacky characters on a ship, where things blow up and, Jane has the love of his life named Vera. And it's like, and there's a prostitute and a preacher, and it's going to be so much fun. Come join us for Firefly.
It'll be swell.
It sounds like you're marketing the Orville, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah. I think somebody at Fox on cocaine thought, this will be just like Red Dwarf. Yes, you're right. It's exactly like Red Dwarf. Literally. So, and it's some of the original promos. Yeah, you should go check them out. It's like, good God.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't do lines of code before you say yes to something. So that happened. And you know how executives, interfere with shit, okay, and ruin it? Part of the reason that they kept moving Firefly around is they thought the story was too dark. And then they added one thing that they really wanted. They wanted Mal to shoot more people in each episode. So you think it's too dark, but you want your main character to kill more people.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. When the show ended, to the fans, the fans who had actually seen it, to their credit, sent in postcards and tried to get Fox to, sell it to another network. And they did. They went to UPN. They turned it down because I think at that time they feel they had enough sci-fi because they were doing it.
Yeah, they were, they had 7 days was the thing where they could go back in time 7 days with Jonathan LaPaglia. Yeah. And they had a few other things that they were doing back then.
Then they went to the Sci-Fi Channel, and this was actually kind of interesting. The reason the Sci-Fi Channel turned it down, they were already in development for the reboot of Battlestar Galactica.
I thought you were gonna say they were like, oh, it's been 13 episodes, we would have already canceled it.
Well, but no, I kind of see that with Sci-Fi, going all in from a former Next Generation writer and who had a lot of credit, to his name at the time in doing this reboot, of Battlestar. They were already filming. They are just finished filming the miniseries, or about done with it, and that was kind of the reason they turned it down. Because I think they had already greenlit the first season. They knew that they were going to do this. Okay. Fox gave up the rights, and that's how Universal Studios got the rights, so they could.
Slight addendum to that: they gave up the film rights. They never gave up. Universal said, "We want to make a movie out of this," and Fox said, "Fine," and sold them the film rights. They never gave up the TV rights, which scarily means that the TV rights are now owned by Disney.
Yeah. Ooh. Anyway, Universal had original plans to make a trilogy. They were going to make, we'll just take Firefly to the big screen. And of course, it didn't really do anything at the box office.
It barely broke even.
Yeah, nobody knew what this was. Barely anybody knew that there was a TV show beforehand. Here's where this story gets interesting. So this is 2004. Okay, 2003. Late 2003, 2004. This is when Netflix and their mail service of DVDs really starts becoming popular. Okay, Blockbuster didn't even really carry a whole lot of DVDs, and this was a canceled TV show. Barely anybody had it. Netflix picks up the slack. Okay, and of course I think the box set, the first box set, the DVD set, went into stores December of 2003. But of course, nobody knows anything about it, so nothing gets sold. Netflix gets credit for making a lot more shows popular or getting more people into it because they had extra DVDs of TV shows. with Blockbuster not being able to carry enough sets of Lost, which became a hit, okay, that's where Netflix picks up. That movie, that's what allowed and made the DVD box sets popular because people wanted to know what this was. Oh, I remember talking to more people. Wait, there was a TV show with these characters. There's like a whole backstory, and they had to make more DVDs. It became one of the high-selling or like rentals after that movie. It didn't do much for like more money for the movie that warrant Universal Studios making the trilogy. Also, Ron Glass and Alan Tudyk wouldn't do a 3-picture contract because of scheduling conflicts, so that's part of the reason their characters were kind of killed off. Because we just didn't know if they could get them back. But the popularity of Firefly is credited a lot to Netflix at that time with the popularity of the DVD mail-in service. So there's a little fun fact for you. If you didn't have that, you might have had an obscure science fiction movie. We wouldn't really be talking about it, but more and more people went back to it. And of course,
well, and back then too, you just had DVD sales. All the fans of the show scarfed up the DVD box set as soon as it hit shelves. And that's why Universal wanted it, because to make a movie out of it, because they saw the ridiculous amount of sales. Because back then, seasons, they sold okay on DVDs, but DVDs were really movies. Movies is what sold DVDs. So when Universal saw this TV show flying off the shelves, they were like,
Well, but I mean, when it first came out, no, they weren't. It wasn't really until like late 2004 that word of mouth, and they started seeing more. They got into their second and third runs after the movie, because by Christmas of 2005, after the movie had already been on video, and more people got to see it, you couldn't find DVD box sets. I mean, I tried buying multiple, and nobody had them. But at that time, I had software that actually copied DVDs, and I think I made more pirated copies for people. Like, here, I'm giving you 4 DVDs of the greatest science fiction show. You'll thank me later, with one more for the movie. And that's how it kind of took on a life of its own.
I still think Janestown, I think, is still my favorite episode, though, and not for the song either. And I know the song. I know everybody loves the song, but for me, I just love that. Well, you took that. You got the short end of the stick, and you took it. And well, you took it, and that's something. It's like they're like, wow, that wasn't horrible. Mal's like, yeah, I'm a bit mild. I'm a bit surprised myself.
I don't know if I actually have a favorite episode. I mean, I love the caper at the hospital, how they put everything together. And just Kaylee in the junkyard getting all excited over machines. But the shindig one too, where Mal has the duel, so, and doesn't and stuff. I'm a good man. Okay.
Whatever you say, Captain Tight Pants.
Captain Tight Pants. Somewhere I've got a T-shirt that says that on it.
Yeah. It's like they say the mercy is the mark of a good man. Okay, maybe I'm just okay. I'm not bad.
I don't think there's actually one bad episode, to be honest. I mean, some are obviously better than others, but you go back and watch all of them, and they all work on every level.
All meat, no filler.
Yeah. I mean, again, the ones with Saffron are hilarious. I like the one where
I'm going to the special hell.
Yeah. Ron Glass's hair.
Yeah.
Too much.
I love it too when Gina Torres sees him and she's just like, "Oh, preacher." I've put the hair away. It's still there.
But I mean, I don't know if you could actually I thought kind of the brilliance of the show is you put all these, different characters. Obviously, you get the mercenaries, but to have a preacher and a prostitute on the same ship, and then you still don't completely know, Book's backstory. They kept alluding to it, and you figure by the movie that he might have been one of the agents at
Yeah.
the thing. But again, they never really confirmed that. So another little interesting fact: the whole story of line about Miranda and what happened with the Reavers, that was actually going to be how they ended season 2. So, but yeah, you want a recipe for how to royally screw up a show? That's Firefly, and why we didn't get 7 seasons, and because that's originally what we wanted.
I'd have been happy with 5. Like,
I agree. I mean, just to have that show go on for many years, 5 would have probably been good enough before it got really crazy. But it just, and then you have Amazon who's making Rings of Power, and that's a whole other sad story.
It is amazing that how a different creative team can do different things at different, because Amazon, Rings of Power is pretty awful, but they also made Reacher.
Yeah.
And Jack Ryan and Terminalist. It's like, how can you do that stuff so well and so faithfully to the source material? Well, you hired bad reboot. What can I say?
Yeah, but the wrong showrunner. Plain and
simple. And not only that, they hired a reboot of bad reboot, because they didn't even get bad reboot. They got bad reboots like, interns that they didn't give any credits to.
Ugly third cousin or some shit.
Well, yeah. Okay. I don't really care about all the controversies surrounding, Joss Whedon. He may be a jackass on set.
Oh, I'm sure they all are.
Right. But at the same time, he has written brilliant shows. Mm-hmm. Every one of them are good. Okay? Even if Buffy the Vampire Slayer is not completely your thing, or Angel or whatever, they're still better than some of the shit that we see out there. The Nevers on HBO, which I'm sure we won't get a second season, but again, that was pretty good. To me, about the only thing that he has really done bad is, Justice League. That movie, but I think a lot of that was also studio interference and him having to kind of placate to that. And that's fine, but 20 years later, we still talk about Firefly. That's how many shows, only get 13, 14 episodes in a movie, and we're still talking about them 20 years later, and we'll still be talking about this show 20 years down the road.
Mm-hmm.
So,
God willing, we're not talking about the shitty Disney Plus reboot.
Don't even get me started. I don't even,
because they're thinking about it. Because we gotta have that never-ending stream of content. That's one thing that I hate about streaming and the streaming wars, is that I feel like half of the shit they're putting out there, I just feel like I'm Rowdy Roddy Piper and They Live. I put my sunglasses on and I see obey, consume.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad there's a lot out there, but at the same time, going back and discovering shows like on Acorn that I've never watched, I love finding new stuff that was good. I'm talking about the constantly churned out new stuff. Well, that's my point, is why do you necessarily have to do that? Why can't you just say, here's a show that, you may have forgotten about? And I'll give you an example. I have never watched Slings and Arrows before, and I feel ashamed that I never have. Loving the theater and, that cast and stuff. So I finally started binge watching it about a week ago. Love it. Also feel bad that I didn't pick up on the reference until the 3rd episode that it is a Hamlet reference. But I haven't heard most of those plays.
Marcus, I'll answer your question of why you've constantly got to do that. And the answer is, see, you don't see it from that standpoint, because you look at it from the standpoint of an artist, of a creator, of a writer. They're looking at it from the standpoint as a corporate executive who has a board of directors and shareholders to respond to.
Well, but that show came out 20 years ago.
Hmm.
And it's brilliant. And there's a lot of things. I feel like you can, instead of rebooting, you can just throw back out there and like, hey, you haven't watched this show in a while. It's still just as good and better than the shit that is out there now. So, and
I agree. There's a lot of great gems, hidden gems out there that you can go see, especially if you've got stuff like Brick Box or Acorn,
oh yeah,
stuff that we normally wouldn't have been exposed to. But, they're just going to keep pumping out new shit so they can say, hey, look at this new thing we've got.
yes, because I really want to watch that second season of the New Mighty Ducks without Emilio Estevez.
God.
Wait, it got a second season?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Right,
They renewed it, but his excuse for why he wasn't in it was scheduling conflicts. I think part of the rumblings is when they were filming, they were still under some COVID protocols,
And he didn't want to get
and
in.
he didn't want to deal with it. Which
Yeah, and which is understandable, but
right.
yeah, okay. So there's a Mighty Ducks show, so that's
So
happening.
the first season was actually kind of cute. I mean, I enjoyed it.
I didn't even know.
Oh, the first season's kind of cool because again, you have Gordon Bombay in it. Okay,
Yeah.
but I just have no desire to watch the second season. I forgot it even dropped on Disney Plus this week. That's how
I
sad.
think they did too, because they certainly didn't advertise it to me.
But you know what? But you know what you could do. It's okay to go back and start binge watching all 5 seasons of Cobra Kai because they don't get old. So
I think I would rather just watch the original Mighty Ducks movie.
I agree. All 3. I mean, even the sequel and the third one are not really that bad. So, all right. Anyway, for those of you out there that still haven't seen Firefly, if you're a young nerd and you haven't discovered this show yet, go check it out. You have no excuse not to. It is on Hulu.
Just please watch Men Order.
Yeah.
Try
The
to.
good news is it does actually.
They actually list them in the proper order. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And if when you get done and you can't find the movie on Hulu, well, unfortunately, it's because it was done by Universal. It's on Peacock.
Yeah.
But there you go. All right, everybody, we're gonna wrap this up. We're heading into October, which means Halloween movies and stuff like that. I think the Halloween saga will finally be over. Maybe not. I don't know.
Right. Sure it will.
We'll see. It says Halloween ends, but if you didn't kill Michael Myers with multiple bullets and a fire,
I shot him 6 times.
I don't know.
Like none of these people have seen Highlander. That's all I'm saying.
No, no shit.
He's like he's come back to life like 86 times, and you guys have never chopped off his head.
Right.
It's a clue, Sherlock.
But when it comes to fantasy, once we're done with House of the Dragon and Rings of Power, we're only a couple of months from Blood Origins with The Witcher. So, very excited about that.
And Willow.
You know what?
Willow out.
Yes, that does actually.
God,
Wow.
I really hope Disney Plus doesn't screw that up.
I do too. I'm very optimistic about it. It looks really decent.
Yeah.
I'm not, but only just because I don't have much faith in Disney at this point.
It's
like
hard to. Yeah, I'm not
like and I'm not even gonna get into all the crazy stuff they talk about online back and forth between the sides. All I'm just saying is, look, other than any of their live action remakes, the only one that was any decent was Beauty and the Beast. The rest of them were varied grades from meh to bleh.
Pinocchio was
Haven't watched all.
horrible.
Don't really care.
Yeah, like and I'm sorry, you do a Lion King remake, you get freaking Christopher Walken to be King Louis, and you don't let him sing Louis Prima? I almost got up and walked out of the theater when I realized he wasn't going to sing.
Yeah. Also,
That was my whole reason for going.
can we stop the controversy over an African American mermaid? Good God Almighty. Okay, it's not that big of a deal. The movie's not even going to be that good anyway. So we're arguing over stupid shit.
Although it does amuse me that we're going to have a Latin American Snow White.
In is what? Wait a minute.
You know what?
It is. You got to admit that is kind of funny.
Yeah.
Don't care much for these movies anyway, but if you need to be woke and have affirmative action in your movies and make it all inclusive or whatever, that's fine. Great. Okay. I'm not going to watch it anyway, but if you're making it for a different kind of audience, that's awesome. It's just one more thing I will ignore on Disney Plus. So, there's more things I'm excited for anyway. But whatever. But sometimes, do you ever get the point that some people just don't need to have a voice on the internet? It's okay. We don't need to give everybody a voice.
Yeah, we've been saying for years that the internet gives a voice to the voiceless, but unfortunately, it doesn't give brains to the brainless.
Oh, trust me, I hear people on both sides who are far off on both sides, and every time they open their mouth, all I can think of is the words of Qui-Gon Jinn. The ability to speak does not mean you're intelligent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pretty much. But hey, whatever. Keep pumping out your content. Because, I mean, we get to these, there's just movies that get thrown out there, and I'm also like, yeah, I'm not going to be seeing it. However, I will take one for that Nerd Show team. And I will go see the new Avatar movie and do the review.
Yeah, because you know I ain't doing it.
Yeah.
I'll do it.
Hey, I already watched Resident Evil this year. I've filled my team quota. I'm good until 2023.
And the good news is you don't have to watch a season 2 because
there ain't gonna fucking be one.
You know, the best thing that's going to come out in 2023 with Resident Evil is the Resident Evil 4 remake, which looks awesome.
Yeah.
And I cannot wait to play it. So
quick gaming note. Did you guys hear that Lucasfilm and Disney has told Lucasfilm and Lucasfilm Games that going forward they want one AAA and one smaller game every year from Star Wars? I'm like, that'd have been a great direction about 11 years ago.
Okay. I mean, the way gaming is, some years that may end up being the best game of the year. But
yeah.
One thing I want to end it with this. Speaking of gaming and gaming notes, this is one of the reasons I still love HBO. The trailer for The Last of Us dropped this week. Wasn't really a full trailer. It was mostly just scenes to music, but it does look incredibly good. I have to admit. And I finally finished the first game this past year. That was one of the older games I wanted to go back and finally finish. Love the first game. Completely agree with all the rave reviews. Not really that excited about the second one, which I did kind of start and then got bored with. But anyway, to make a show based off that game, yes. But to actually do it right, unlike the Uncharted movie with, good casting and stuff, it really does look amazing. And the fact that you're going to do it over multiple episodes. So here's hoping that the trailer really isn't the best part. But from what we've seen and heard and stuff, it does look like it's actually going to be pretty good.
I wish I cared more about that game. I would. I'm waiting for them to port it over to the Google Stadia. Oh, whoops.
Oh, shit. I'm sorry.
Did you hear about that, Marcus? They've announced that they're shutting down Google Stadia today.
Yeah.
And the internet collectively went, eh. which is about the internet's collective reaction when they announced Google Stadia.
That really probably should be this week's Sign of the Apocalypse, but then again, it really not, because we're like, wait, that's still a thing?
Well, and that's the thing too. They said it didn't really gain the traction we thought it was going to gain. I'm like, you thought it was going to gain traction? I'm freaking impressed it took this long for you to shit can.
It was wearing skis on an uphill butter slide. What the hell?
I don't even know anybody that played games on Google Stadia.
No.
I like I've never even seen somebody say, hey, I ordered this online. Like I don't even know. Like I never even saw anybody on Twitter say, hey, I played something on Stadia.
Like, do your parents not like you or something?
So, all right, I'm going to end it with this quick story, and then we'll finally be done. So, my friend Amanda, who I still see, finally getting around to her kids, 7 and 8, getting a console. And this is where I come in. This is where I'm an expert. And, her son wants like an Xbox. He's sort of played Fortnite with friends, and I'm like, well, I think he's too young to be online, and I'll show you how to mask his identity and all that. But she was like, well, I don't know anything about gaming. I mean, a Nintendo Switch, is that what I should get? I'm like, yes, definitely. You should get that. You should also probably have the Xbox, because there's things on there in Game Pass and whatnot. She actually said, well, there's this Google thing where you can have a controller. I mean, that seems simple enough. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
That's where I do an intervention. Well, can't you just
the Fire Gnome has just passed me a note.
Yeah.
Stadia sounds like an illness.
Yeah. And I'm like, but my response to her is, no, you're going to do this right. You're going to get them a console with actual games, power, and not trying to do something online with terrible. No. Well, but it's, and I shit you not. She was like, well, it's just, but it seems like it's just like playing playing games on your tablet or your phone. That's good enough, right? And I'm like,
yeah, if you want your 7-year-old son to hate you for the next 3 years,
right.
Sure.
So I'm like, I made a shopping list. I'm like, you can order all this on Amazon. I'm going to get you the games, and his dad can get the Xbox and Game Pass, and I'll make a list of stuff.
It's like, let me explain what's going to happen to you. If you get him Stadia, 2 things will happen in short order. 1, he will hate you.
Yeah.
2, he will go to school and tell his friends the stupid shit his mother did, and then they will make fun of him, and then he will in turn hate you more because you were the cause of him being bullied over getting something as stupid as that.
And as a therapist, you should just know better.
Yeah.
So,
you bought him Pumas when everybody else in his family, everybody else in his family.
I get it, and I'm not. I get it if you don't know video games. That's why you ask people what to do. That's why you have people like me in your life that can.
And then listen to their advice.
Don't argue with us with what we're talking about.
Okay, look, I don't take out the DSM-5 and start rattling off things that I think I know in your field. So listen to me in the field that I know. I'm a professional nerd. Anyway, so yeah, and Aaron is right. It sounds like an illness, and that's.
And it really is. It's Stadia is a corporate illness.
Right.
Dementia, amnesia, Stadia. Okay, I got it.
So what's going to happen? It's going to go offline, and then there's going to be like a worm that'll be called Stadia that'll like bring down computers, and they'll be like, well, that's the proper name for it. So.
It's. I mean, seriously, like the just collective meh of the entire internet that this thing went offline. Nobody cared.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
somebody goes, oh, that sucks for all the people that bought it. When somebody replied, what, 5 of them?
All 5 of them? Yeah.
They were the developers.
Yeah, the people that weren't lucky enough to get that in television.
Yeah.
Just the normal responses of it. Google Stadia, they're still doing that? I think I was going to try it. Well, it's going offline. Oh, never mind. I'm going to go back to Candy Crush, which is a real game.
Go back to playing games through Amazon on that stupid Fire.
Oh, there's a reason you have PC gaming where you download shit and consoles to do it. Anyway.
Whole different show.
So I wish that we could say that that's sad, but again, like the collective internet, we never. You know why we never reviewed it? Because we knew better.
Because none of us would own it.
No. And if somebody admitted to it, we would have a staff intervention. You have 2 consoles. Why are you even doing this?
Yeah.
It's like Because, well, here's why we didn't review it. It's very, very simple. Because we have the Wii, we have the Xbox, we have the PlayStation, we have the PC. Um, there's literally, and then they're like, well, it's kind of like, and then like your friend said, it's kind of like mobile gaming for your TV, which is the saddest statement ever uttered in gaming.
Look, they sent me a review copy. Everybody would show up over at their house with duct tape, a fresh cardboard. Send that piece of shit back. Do not open that box. Don't open the box. What's in the box?
Either that or we would just have an office space party and take sledgehammers to it.
No. We would have a barbecue. I'm out of firewood. Here's something that we can burn.
Yeah. Here's kindling. Started with this shit.
Right. Oh, it's not even worth dumping into a landfill like the ET Atari.
Yeah, the ET cartridges would spit it back out. Get that piece of crap out of here.
All right.
Standards in this fire pit.
We're going to end on this note, I promise. In case anybody is wondering what's happening in November, it will officially be the 50th anniversary of Atari. So just think about that. All right, everybody, it's time to say goodbye.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.